Hey, welcome to this session of Jumpstart Your Marriage and Your Money. I'm Elle Martinez, the creator and host of Couple Money, a personal finance site and podcast that's dedicated on helping spouses focus in on building their wealth together. And I've first of all want to just say thank you so much. Your support has been tremendous. Now, the book, Jumpstart Your Marriage and Your Money, is coming out next week, but it wouldn't have been possible without your help. So thank you so much for sending your stories, your questions that we've covered in the podcast and on the site about how do you merge your finances? How do you guys work together to not only build wealth, but have a rich life? And that's not the amount that's in your bank account, but it's having a life that you enjoy, fulfilling your dreams, and working together as a team. So if you don't mind, I want to cover a couple big questions that I've gotten that a lot of couples are struggling with, because I want you to get on the same page as quickly as possible and work together. The biggest question so far I've gotten is when and how do you even start talking about money? Now, I've had couples who have been married for years ask this. I had couples who maybe are engaged or they're getting to a point where they know that this is long term and they want to work together, but they just don't have, I guess you could say, an icebreaker to start off with. I want to say, first of all, one of the best things you can do is to talk about finances, because finances in themselves are just a number, but a lot of times how we spend money is a reflection of what we value and what we prioritize. So I actually suggest, counterintuitively it may seem, but I suggest starting off with your goals first, and then you can work on your finances. So what do I mean by that? So if you guys are engaged, you might want to have the money talk. We did that when we were engaged, and it was an eye-opener, to put it mildly. It was a little bit awkward because we thought we were on the same page, but we were definitely not. I had the credit card debt, I had a car loan and student loans, and he just had one semester of student loans that he was going to pay off. But what was good about that is that we started talking about why. But if I could go back, I would actually start off with talking about goals. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of tension when you jump in with the numbers. You're immediately worried about, should I reveal everything up front? Should I hold back something and then ease into it later? But if you focus on your goals, this can make things a lot less stressful while still being productive. I like to tell couples, think of it like planning an epic vacation. Now, stay with me here. When you get excited about a vacation that you're planning, what do? Well, first of all, you pick a destination. Where do you want to go? And it might be a very specific city, it might be a country, but usually once you start picking a spot, then you work backwards. Well, what does that mean? What are we going to do once we're there? And then you continue working backwards, and then you start looking about, well, what are the deals? Are we going to fly over there? Is this going to be a car trip? What are the prices? And you make decisions based on that. But there's also an enthusiasm and excitement. And I didn't think this was such a big deal, but when I was interviewing couples, and we were coming up to 200 episodes on the podcast, who've gotten out of $100,000 of debt or who have retired early in their 30s, the thread that was in common was they had such clarity with what they were working towards. They could see that when they were retiring early, they were going to do this. They wanted more time together. If they had kids, they wanted to have more time with their kids. And so when they were making decisions and they were figuring out, okay, what do we need to do with our budget? What do we need to do with our plan? It was easier to make those choices and to follow through. So if you guys haven't already, sit down and talk about, what do you guys want to do? Now, I know the big goal for a lot of people is retirement, but if you find that a hard goal to envision, then start off with something smaller. What would you guys like to do in the next year or two, maybe the next 5 years? If you're in debt, would you like to get out of debt? And what would you do once you're done? And I say this because too many times when I ask couples, well, what are your goals? Well, we'd like to get out of debt. And that is a great thing to strive towards, but that shouldn't be your goal. That shouldn't be your destination, so to speak. What it should be is a milestone. Your goal should be, what are we going to do once the debt is paid off. That's because as you're working towards the goal, a lot of times, day in, day out, you're going to be tempted to get off whatever plan you decide that you're going to be going on because it seems so far away. But having a clarity on your goal helps you to stay focused and to achieve it. So once you guys know what you're working towards, when do you bring in the numbers? Well, this would be a good time to say, okay, we know what we want to do. We're really excited about this. Where are we starting off? Again, thinking of a trip, you have a destination, but you got to know where you're starting off. Like if you have a flight, what airport are you leaving from to get to your destination? So this is where you can pull up for your accounts, your balances with your banking. If you have any car loans, student loans, credit card debts, pull that up. If you have a mortgage, pull that up, as well as the equity that you're having in your home, what it's worth. Those numbers will give you a clear idea of where you are. And once you are there and you know where you are and where you want to go, it's easier and is a lot less stressful to come up with a plan. Now, when I say plan, some people automatically go with budget. Some people call it a spending plan. But no matter what you call it, it's the same idea. What do you want your money to do in what order? And it seems stressful for so many people, but this is another huge question I get. It's what's the best budget for us? What's the right budget for us? Do we need to have a budget? And the answer is most likely, if you're just starting off, having a budget can get you into the right habits. But surprisingly enough, it's not required. The reason is when you start having systems into place, it becomes easier to follow through on your plans. And what do I mean by this? Now, initially, you're going to have a budget. Even if you don't have it on paper, basically, you want to make sure that your money is accounted for. Of course, we got essentials that we got to cover, like bills. You got to eat. You got to have a place to stay. You clothes on your back. And if you're working and you need transportation, that's covered with the essentials. Then you have what I would call your future expenses, expenses to cover maybe something happens and you need an emergency fund. That would go under that. If you are planning on retiring, which most couples are, then you would have some money set up for retirement. Also, if you're planning on buying a house, starting a business, starting a family, both, all of the above, then that would go towards your future expenses. And then we also have some regular expenses. I call it fun money, but it's a little more than that. Quality of life, I guess you can say. And when you're looking at how you're spending your money, you now have to figure out what's the best way to allocate it so that we're reaching our goals while still enjoying ourselves now. And so I would make a suggestion. If you two have never done a budget before, or you've done a budget and you've just failed, you can't stick with it, it seems too hard, I have 3 suggestions that can help you out. The first one is the 50-20-30 budget. And basically your money is going into 3 budgets. And as you can guess by the numbers, those are the percentages. So with the 50-30-20 budget, you have 50% of your money is going towards those essential bills that you have to pay, any obligations you have with debt, pay that over there. And then 20% for saving for the future, taking care of emergency fund, those things like that. And then the last piece, the 30%, is going to be towards your discretionary fund. Maybe you guys do like to eat out. That's fine. Have it in your budget. Now, this plan is good in the sense that it's very easy to follow. You can calculate it fairly quickly. And I think for some couples, that's what they want. They don't want that information overwhelm. They don't want to categorize everything. So this is a good starting point. I would always tweak it. And you will find that as you start a budget, it'll adjust. But I think as a starting point, this can definitely be helpful for those who don't like a more traditional budget. The second way you can budget, it's called the zero-based system or $0 system. And that means each and every one of your dollars is focused on something. It has a very specific purpose. You're making sure that you're getting the most of your hard-earned money. And the advantage of that, as you can see, is that it's harder to waste money. it is harder at the end of the month to say, oh, I don't know where the money went. I thought we had more money. I found couples that follow this system almost give themselves a raise in the sense that because they had a plan for each one of their dollars, it was most likely to hit those accounts, to pay those bills, to build the savings, to invest for retirement. And that yet they were still able to have some fun. So please keep that in mind. They have some great tools like Every Dollar You Need to Budget and Tiller that can make that easy and almost automatic for you once you set it up. And then the last one, it sounds drastic, but something I kept finding over and over again, especially with couples who were looking to retire very early, was one income living. And this will take care of all of your essentials under one income. And the reason this is so powerful is that because you have this mindset of we're not going to spend everything we have. We're actually going to see if we can optimize this. Do we really enjoy eating out this much? You might. Or another couple might feel like, you know what, once a month is good for us or once a week is good for us because we want to stay under that budget. Now, what do you do with that second income? That second income is paying down and off all of your debts, making sure that you have the savings that you need to cover emergencies that can come up. Maybe you want a freedom fund because you want to start a business that can hopefully be your career. And then if you want to retire early, you're going to have to start investing, and you have to invest huge amounts. When you have a second income that's dedicated, that's focused on doing that, it's a huge difference. It makes things go by so much faster. I actually wrote a post about this, that the biggest factor and the biggest number for early retirement isn't where your investments are going and the return on the investments per se. It's how much are you putting in? How much of your money can you save and dedicate towards that? So if you guys are serious about early retirement investing, and that's something you know you want to do and you want to be financially independent as soon as possible, one income living is the budget per se, I guess you can call it spending plan, that you should focus on. Now, sometimes couples say, you know what, I am not the numbers person, but my spouse is. Should I let them take care of that if they enjoy it? Why not? And on the surface, that's a smart move. You should always play to your strengths. But I will say that if you guys are looking not only to build your finances, but work together on your marriage, both of you need to be on the loop. And from a practical standpoint with your relationship, that communication is always essential because, again, money isn't the focus. It's just a tool to get to where you want to go. So when you're having these chats and these talks about money, it is essential that both of you are on the same page. And then if anything changes, you can go ahead and make that switch earlier. And that's another point. A lot of people don't want to do a spending plan because they feel like, well, what if I'm locked in? What if things change? I promise you, things are going to change. We've been married 10 years and our goals have shifted as we became parents. That was another huge a shift with what our priorities are. And that's a good thing. We're growing, we're learning. And by keeping that communication open, it makes things so much easier. And so that kind of leads into another question. Well, how do we stay in the loop with each other? Because I hate to look at spreadsheets month after month, or, I'm trying to get my spouse to save more and they just don't seem like they're ready or they want to do it, but they said they are. How do we do that? I suggest money dates. And this is something I'm a huge proponent of. It's not scary. It's not pulling out the spreadsheets and looking at every penny that's been spent, but it's a date where you guys either get out or stay inside and kind of relax, take that pressure off, and going back to those goals. What are the goals you guys are working for? And in the book, I actually have a framework of how you do the money dates, but I just want to highlight some of the big keys here. Is you start off with the wins you've had. It's tough sometimes when you want to go out and, spend some money. But if you're having a money date and you're reminding each other, okay, we're not here saving money just to save money. We're saving money because we want to travel more. We have a trip planned at the end of this year, at the end of this month. It is so much more powerful, so much more motivating and encouraging to have that accountability, to have that support on a date and to talk about that. And then, yes, you are going to look over the numbers, but I'll get to this in just a minute. But there's so many tools out there you may not know about that can make pulling the numbers simple. And you can spend 5-10 minutes every week, maybe like 15 minutes every month to make sure that you're on track for your goals. And of course, life happens. So if you have a hiccup, you can sit and talk about it with no pressure. Did you spend a little bit more than you planned? Well, that's just 1 month that's slightly thrown off. You can work on and see how you can improve for the next month. And then, of course, it seems to me like every month something else, something different comes up, and I think that's a point of failure for mini budgets is that we set it and we go, oh, well, that's it. And vacation, or you need to replace the tires in your car, or kids get sick and that wasn't expected. Those little things can add up. So when you have these check-ins regularly, it can be a huge benefit, not only for your finances, but also for your marriage. What are you guys working towards? And then let's talk about those tools. Nowadays, there are more tech apps, resources out there than I can even count. And I write about personal finance, and I get just flooded with emails about, oh, there's this going on. I see articles about these apps that can save you money. And it can be too much. You can go, well, I don't want anybody messing with my finances. How do I know what apps and tools to use? So I just want to share a few of my personal favorites. Many of these we actually use ourselves, and you get to pick after hopefully I describe them well enough, see what's a good fit for you. So with budgets, I'm a big believer of systems that make it easy to track your money all in one place and give you a visual representation or a very clear picture of where your money's going now and how are you doing overall. So technical term, basically we're looking at your net worth, your assets and your debts, what's your big number, and then we're looking at your cash flow month to month, how's the money going in and out. So my recommendations, and I've tried all of these out, is Personal Capital, Mint, Tiller, Proactive, and You Need a Budget. So with Personal Capital, we use that to do our monthly updates, to check on everything. I love it because it pulls our accounts and it has some great free tools and features, especially if you're focusing in on investing. And fees can eat up so much of your results, and you really do want your money working for you, not paying fees as much as possible. So Personal Capital is one of my favorites. Mint is another helpful tool. It's very visual. It's a great way to get an idea of what's going on with your cash flow, and you can set it up so if you set up a spending limit with eating out, you can get a text message as you get closer to that limit to remind you to, hey, you might want to cut back on that. And Tiller is fairly new for me, but I really like this. I do enjoy spreadsheets, but one of the things I hate about spreadsheets is manually entering the transactions. I'm a mom with 2 kids. We just don't have time to do that. Tiller makes it automatic. And they have some great templates that can pull that in, and then you can get that net worth update and that cash flow, or you can create your own system and have it work with Tiller, and then boom, you have a perfect system to go into the details if you want to, but also get a very clear and accurate picture of where you're going and where you're at. And You Need a Budget is something that I've tried out, and I think it's very helpful, especially for those that are looking at that zero-based budget. It helps you and guides you to make sure that every dollar that you have is spent with this very specific purpose. So it's called You Need a Budget, but the community calls it YNAB. So definitely want to check that out if that's more your speed. And then Proactive is different. I had discovered them at the beginning of this year, And this was kind of cool because the cash envelope system is something that's been around, something that's very powerful in the sense of, okay, say and I use eating out because this seems to be a big issue with couples, is you put the cash that you have budgeted and you have planned for the month into an envelope, hence the name. And then once that money runs out, that's it. You have to wait till next month or next paycheck, whatever your budget is, to replenish it. Problem with that is carrying around cash. Now, if it's a smaller amount, might not be a big deal, but if you're working on several different goals, having all that money in your wallet may make you feel uncomfortable. Proactive takes that idea and puts it in an app with a card. And that card is zero until you're getting ready to spend, and you can send that money to the card, spend it, and it tracks it real time. So I think that's a great tool. I think it's a great way to take a bit of old school and mix it in with new school. So again, the ones I recommend, Personal Capital, Mint, Tiller, Proactive, and You Need a Budget. I think they're awesome. Now, saving money is important, and I'm really a big believer of making sure that you minimize as much spending as you can. But if you're going to spend, see if you can save money. And one big bill that a lot of people have, especially if you're a family, is your cell phone. So I use Republic Wireless, and they have incredible deals with cell phones and their plans. And what I like about them is it uses a hybrid technology where it has Wi-Fi and cell network. So you're not depending so much on the cell network, which means you're saving money and your bill's lower. So I have two lines with them. I have a business account and a personal account. And for the last 6 months, might be more than 6 months, it's been about $38 a month for two lines. And these are smartphones. I got the Moto X that I love, and I have the Moto G. So I love these. These are great, and it's perfect, and they're cheap. But I don't see any sacrifice in service or quality. So Republic Wireless, definitely want to check them out, but there's other competitors, so don't feel like you have to be stuck with who you have now as a provider. And then if you're spending and shopping online, one of the big frustrations I have is you shop around, you get a good deal, and it almost seems like immediately after you get the deal, the price is lowered. So to help out with that, there's Parabis, which basically on your behalf will request the price difference. And a lot of merchants do have price guarantees within a certain window, and it automates it for you. So you can save some cash on things that you're already going to buy. So I think that's a great opportunity to save a little bit of money. And then these next two apps do very similar things, Capital and Digit, which is automate savings. And I see a lot of couples struggle with this. They feel like, okay, there's no way we can save money. Our money is tight. And that could be the case. But did you know that there are apps that can analyze your spending and then send it off to an account to help you build some savings? I tried it out with Digit, and I'm trying Capital out now. And it's great because they have a guarantee that you won't go over your budget. They're not going to overdraft you, but it's like a few dollars here and there. And then at the end of the month, you have $50, $100. Some people found a couple $100 in their accounts based on just automating some of that savings. Now, Digit does have a fee with it that they're starting out with now. Capital does not. So I recommend both of them, but I know you have to look at your budget and see what's the best option for you. And then lastly, you're saving all this money, but what are you doing with it? And if you are planning on investing, it's good to go with a provider, someone who can help you reach your goals and minimize fees. So the two options we use are Vanguard and Betterment. And how that works, Vanguard is pretty much the leader with low-cost index funds. And I've written about this, and I've had some podcasts on this. So you can listen to that. I'll put a link below. And they have some great deals. Well, I don't want to say deals, but they have some of the lowest rates, expense ratios. So that means more of my money is being invested rather than paying fees. And then with Betterment, it's the same idea, but it's automate it. If you're more of a hands-off person and you know you're not going to be checking, or you're worried about, okay, I tinker too much and I'm pulling my money in and out and it's hurting me, Betterment does that, puts it in low cost index funds for you, rebalances it, does the tax harvesting. It does all that in an affordable way, and you can also automate your contributions. So I definitely recommend those. And then finally, if you have kids, I know you probably want to make sure that they are smarter with their money and that they're wise with how they spend, save, and give. And I definitely want to make recommendations about FamZoo and Cash Crunch games. So with FamZoo, we use this for our 5-year-old. She has an allowance. And what this does, it's an easy way for us to not only track balances, but we can work with her as she gets older to maybe tie extra allowances for extra money. If you want to match savings to encourage them to save, I know savings rates aren't great right now. So as a parent, you might want to do a little nudge saying, hey, if you save this in a month, you get a certain percentage, we'll kick in some money. Those things can be great to do, but sometimes it's just hard to track. You're busy. FamZoo makes it easy. It's an app. The kids can get a card when they're ready, and they can practice using money with you, making sure they don't get too out of control, because you want to prepare them and you want to protect them from making huge mistakes, but this is a way for them to get that experience before they leave the house. And then with Cash Crunch games, I'm a big believer, make money fun. So I talked about money dates being fun and relaxing, and with kids, they love to play games. And so they have online games and board games that you can get to teach your kids about finances and play with them. I have the little one, Cash Crunch Junior, our 5-year-old plays. She is a saving fiend. She loves to save, but not only just saving money, it gives you real scenarios where you can find out, okay, I have to save for grandma, a gift for grandma. How much should I spend? How does that go? So that is a great opportunity, an easy way for the family to start having discussions about finances. So I hope that helps you guys out. I just wanted to cover some of the biggest questions that I've gotten. But just a reminder, the book, Jumpstart Your Marriage and Your Money, a lot of the questions that I have that you had and sent in, it's covered in the book. And it also gets more into the details like the hows and whys. For example, I have conversation starters. How do you start those questions? How do you get it ball rolling? What if we don't agree on the same thing? That's covered in there. I also talk about money dates. I take you through the first few money dates so you guys can get more comfortable and you get with the process, and then you go from there. Because I'm someone who believes that your marriage and your money should reflect what you value and what you prioritize. So once I give you that framework, then you guys build it out. And then I know money can be tight and it can be tough. So in this course, it's basically 4 weeks to building your wealth together. It talks about how do you save money and how do you make more money so you're building that buffer. You can use that to pay down debt. You can use that to get to your goals faster. And then last and certainly not least, the last week is the common goals that I get: travel less, starting a family, buying a house, retiring early. Well, how do you get started on those things? I wrap that up. I really wanted to make it as easy as possible. I know you guys are busy. I know we have a full life and we love it. We love taking care of the kids. We love hanging out with each other, our friends, our careers, but we just don't have time to worry about every penny and all the minutia. So I wanted to make this easy as possible. So you can grab Jumpstart Your Marriage and Your Money. It's available now for pre-order on Amazon. You can go to couplemoney.com/book. And I'm also offering a bonus if you're pre-ordering. So you can get free access to a companion course. I'm going to be going through the book with you. You can ask me questions. You can share your stories. And if you have any resources that you're looking for, I can go ahead and look that for you. So it'll be a nice private class. We're working on that. And I just want to make sure that money is a positive part of your marriage. So make sure you pre-order it. It's coming out next Tuesday, June 13th. Just go to couplemoney.com/book and then just email me a receipt, a copy of your receipt. It's at l@couplemoney.com. And I'll get you registered, and I will send you my free money toolkit guide, which has many of these things that I just mentioned today. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day. Take care.